Welcome to More Than Miles, the podcast created to look deep into what it means to be a runner and endurance athlete. Our episodes are filled with real stories from real runners, elite to the everyday athlete. We bring together healthcare providers, athletes, and dive deep into topics that matter most to runners. I'm Dr. Kate Mihevik-Edwards, physical therapist, author, athlete, and complete coffee addict.
And I'm Dr. Kacy Sinders, physical therapist, athlete, and pun expert extraordinaire. We're so passionate about changing running culture to improve the health, wellness, and fulfillment of our endurance athlete community. And we hope that these conversations inspire you to focus on putting your health first so that performance and PRs can follow. Now let's get to the show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to More Than Miles. Today, Kacy and I have a couple guests that I'm very, very excited about. So we have Catherine or Kat and Sarah, or Sarah Jane. They're two sisters that have been running for as long as I've known them, which is a very long time. And they've done so much individually and together, and they've got some pretty cool things going on in their life. And so I just thought it would be really fun to bring them onto the podcast so you guys could get to know them like I do. Welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, we're excited to be on. Thank you guys for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kate. I've been looking forward to it. I'm excited. And I know Kat is too.
Well, we don't usually have two people on, so we'll see how we do.
Hopefully we don't interrupt each other too much.
We might the whole time. I promise.
I know, it's kind of like Brady Bunch style here for me. 4 people. It's a lot.
It is. It's really good. Well, I'd like to start with, I met you both a long time ago, before I opened my own practice, and I met you while I was still working at one-on-one physical therapy. And I don't remember how old you guys were, because I don't remember how old I was.
I was 12.
You were 12?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was like 14 or 15 because she's 2 years younger than me. So
okay. Well, that was not quite as long. I thought that was not.
Well, I mean, we're like 23, 25 now. So it's still a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago.
Almost a dozen years ago.
Oh, that's funny. Well, on this podcast, we love to start with kind of a running story. And of course, we'll get deeper into both of your running stories as we go. But I don't know who wants to go first. But can you just tell us a little bit about, like what running means to you and how it all started for you? And then maybe you guys could even go into a little bit of how running is deep within your family.
Yeah. Sarah, do you want to go first? Or
yeah, sure. I got it. Okay. So first, family. My parents never really ran in college or anything like that, but they did love running. Like they actually did like a youth program where they ran with some kids. And so they kind of got close through that. And my mom loved it. She had a coach once that said, you should have done this in high school. You would have been really good. So I know she wishes she had chosen that over cheerleading sometimes. Personally, I got into running because my brother and sister got into running. It was just an outlet, something that my parents were like, okay, she needs something to meet people and be social in. So I did that. And that was when I was 10 years old. That was when I started 5th grade. And I really hated it. I hated it so much. I remember specifically on long run, I would walk on purpose just to show how much I hated it. And I'm pretty sure, Kate, I even came into some office hours with you, and I'd tell you how much I hated it. But that is not the case anymore. Actually, when track season came around, I fell in love with track, like just absolutely in love with it. And I still like cross, but I just absolutely love track. And getting to run with Kat and getting to run with our teammates was some of my best memories I'll ever have through middle school and high school. It was just like core memories, some of the best times I'd ever had the best coaching. We always did this spring break track training trip, and I just love that so much. Miss it all the time. But yeah, I knew I wanted to run in college, but I knew I also wanted to go to a design school. So I chose SCAD and I ran there. It was great that they had a program there because I didn't even know they did. And I loved my team there, loved the training there. I loved living by the beach and getting to do long run on the beach. And then graduated last year and moved out here to Oregon. And that's where I am now in Portland. and joined a club team out here, the Bowerman Track Club Elite, and love it so much. I was just yesterday at the youth practice watching some like 12-year-olds go at the relay, and it was just so much fun. And I was thinking back to when I was their age and I was just getting into track and how much I missed that newness to the sport. And I just like loved it so much and love being a part of it still. So yeah, that's my story. I mean, I've had ups and downs with injuries, but overall it's been one of the best things ever in my life.
Well, I do remember because I met Kat before I met you, and Kat loved running and she was all about it. And when I met you, you're like, it's okay.
Yeah, I know. I did not like it at first at all.
That's funny. What about you, Kat?
Yeah, I was pretty similar in the sense that like we were homeschooled until like late middle to high school. So neither of us really did sports growing up other than the basic Christian, like upward basketball, whatever. If you guys know what upward is, it's like not.
Yeah, I did upward basketball. I have the photos to prove it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But yeah, so we grew up homeschooled, and then I started running in 7th or 8th grade when we started going to school. And at first, like I'd always, been active as a kid. Your parents are like, you're fast, but it's not, you're not a runner necessarily. You just are fast. And then within a year, I had pretty much gotten to be like one of the top middle scorers in the country. And it was just like, all right, I'm very good at this. Like, I love doing this. Like, it was just super fun. And then pretty much when I met Kate, that was like my freshman year when I started kind of for the first time having some pretty severe, like not severe, but like health issues, like some random aches and pains and injuries and things that pretty much entirely took me out of track that spring. And I remember I saw you that summer before I got to qualify for Foot Locker Nationals that like fall. And it was just like dream season. And then I ended up having a pretty bad fall, like right after that. And we think, who knows, but we think that's when I tore my first labral in my right hip. And so kind of ever since then has honestly just been a cascade ripple effect of like injury after injury after injury. Like even in college, I ran at Baylor my freshman year, Baylor University. And then I ran at Samford in Birmingham. It's like a tiny school after that. But kind of even continuing through college running, it was just like I'd finally get fast again. Like I remember at Samford after I transferred, I was running at conference. And it was the first time in years I'd been like in shape again, like peak fitness, had stayed injury free long enough. And then I ended up randomly tearing my arch in the middle of the race, like when I was going 17:20 pace, and I was finally back to my high school time, almost about to run it. And then it was just like ripped arch out for like 6 months. And so it was just thing after thing, it felt like. And every time I come back, I would just get knocked down again, which is just how it is sometimes for some people. But I feel like running for me is one of those things that, like you said, I have always, like, since I kind of started doing it, just been obsessed with. I think we all have our different things. And I know, Kate, your story is so like near and dear to me because obviously I've never had running fully ripped away from me and can't ever imagine that. But just seeing what you walked through and how you walked through with such just strength and grace, I can't imagine how hard all of that was with everything with your story. But basically, I kind of think running is one of those things like art or music that we all have this art form, this thing in life that it's just ours. Like, it's just like we were almost created to feel purposeful and feel like more in tune with ourselves than ever when we do that thing. And running has, and I think will always to some degree be that thing for me. And yes, when it's taken away from you in certain seasons, like you learn to fall in love with other things and feel that purpose in other things. And Kate, you're helping other people like feel that, even though you can't like run anymore. But yeah, I think that it will always be my quote art form, if you will, because I just love it so much.
I love that. I've never thought of it quite like that as an art form, but you're absolutely right. It is like a dance or like a music or one of those things that once it's got its grip on you, it doesn't really go away.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll ask you this, Kat, because you kind of alluded to it a little bit. But so what does it look like now? Because you guys both have some pretty cool things going on in your life. Kat, you're a big influencer now, which is really interesting and neat to me that's how you make your living. And I've, watched your YouTube channel and like look at your posts and stuff. And this is how I keep up with the two of you, is through social media, actually. How is running for you now? Like, are you doing a lot anymore? I kind of see that you're doing some and getting back into it, but Talk to me about what's going on now.
Yeah, I think my whole life I've always like tried to get back. And even when I had to quit, like towards the end of college, just because it was like, okay, it's been 10 years or 8 years now, but just injuries, I feel like I'll always come back to it. So definitely it's not, what I do for a scholarship anymore. And I don't allow myself to tie my identity to it anymore, but I still definitely love running. For work now, I'm an author. It's published next year. So I feel weird saying author because it's not out there yet, but next April.
Cool.
And so working on
cool.
that. Yeah, I'm so excited, but working on that behind the scenes. And then like influencer, like you said, I don't love it being called influencer because I believe like everyone is an influencer. We all have so much influence over people's lives and just our day-to-day conversations. But I do like content for brands and content for my husband's brand. It's a Christian company called He Would Love First. And so I create all of their ads and help with their marketing stuff and help him come up with products. And it's just like the most fun. Like we feel so grateful. It's just a dream job. It's so fun. But we live in Jacksonville, Florida. And I think Kacy's actually from Jacksonville, which is so funny that we moved here. But
my best friend lives in Jacksonville. So I'm down there visiting quite frequently. So.
Yeah, I see sometimes that you're still here. But I grew up whenever we would vacation in the summer, our family would always go to Amelia Island, Florida, which is like right over from here. And I just loved running on vacation, like running in new cities, running in new places was always so fun. And so I think moving to the beach, even more than normal, spurred this like, I just want to be able to run every day so bad. So obviously, when you're a quote working professional, content creator, influencer, doesn't feel like working professional all the time, but it still works. So
it's work.
Yeah, it's certainly work, but it doesn't feel professional necessarily. When you're doing other things for work, you're not like, I have to run or I'm going to pay $100 a week, $200 a week to go to physical therapy. Because for me, with both my labral tears and all the other random things and scoliosis, I have to go to physical therapy. Like I have to do stuff in order to run. So when we moved here, I kind of bit the bullet and was like, we're going to do it. We're going to sacrifice in other areas and pay for PT every single week. And we're going to get to run again. And so I kind of started running again once we got here, and then I was able to run a half in January, but have had like a lot of health issues this year on and off with some different things. So I've had to take almost the whole spring off, which has been a big bummer. But I'm just easing back into it with a different PT now, running like 2 times a week, and we'll take whatever we can get right now. So yes, we're still runner girl, but not quite the same capacity.
That's all right, because there's so many other things as we all know in life besides running. This is just like one of those things and threads that kind of ties us all together and runs through our lives. So there's so many other things that are incredible that you're doing. So that's great. What about you, Sarah? So you mentioned you're over at Bowerman and running, and
yes.
What's next for you and what's going on?
Yeah, I have a lot coming up. I'm actually like in the midst of like, it's planning everything. It's a lot, but I'm really excited. Tiny bit of backstory. I just graduated from school, like I said, a year ago. So technically I've been out of school for a little bit over a year now. And I moved out to Oregon for a job and also to join this club team out here. And the job that I moved out here to join was is an advertising agency position as a junior art director. Initially working on Google and McLaren, and then helped my team win Gatorade. So we recently just found out, and been working on that a bit. And then also working on the ACC. So like the conference, the sports conference, like SEC, Big Ten, but ACC. So working on some really, really fun, like sports related content like that. But this past year, I've realized that the advertising agency world is not for me. As much as I can see how passionate some of the people there are about it and how much it means to them, I think the lifestyle of it and the fact that there's not much fulfillment coming from it for me, I realized, okay, there's something else that I need to be doing. And going even a little bit further back, my senior year at SCAD, the place I ran at initially, I was able to be a part of this design project. And the root of it was we had to come up with some sort of design system that was based off of some new emerging technology. So I chose biosensors integrated into garments. It was something that a physicist at MIT had come up with in 2020, and it's not even put out yet. She just has this research that she's put out on the web. She hasn't made anything with it, but I was like, wow, this would be really cool if we actually used this stuff. So made a design system hypothetically with this technology. And it was inspired by my teammate who had actually passed away 2 years before that. And she passed away after a run when her heart stopped beating. That was what inspired it, because had we had this garment that would be able to track body levels, heat levels, temperature, and then like the heart rate and so many other things, we could have seen some patterns that later we were able to go back in her Strava and see that she had kind of given warning signs over and over again, like, hey, I had to cut my run short again. My heart rate spiked. And she was telling us all along, but no one seemed to know. And that was one of the most heartbreaking things about it, was that there could have been a way to stop it from happening. So that was what inspired that. And the design system really just like had a special place in my heart because of that. And so I think I really put my soul and energy into it. And that project was what got me the job that I now have. I made this design video and advertising video with it and everything. And that was what got me the job. But all that to say, I think I mistook my passion for that from my passion for selling a product. But my passion really lied within like solving a problem. And the passion was for the way that our bodies work. And I am, with all of that being said, I'm going back to school to get my master's in kinesiology and also to use the rest of my eligibility because I ran NAIA. So you can still do that. So I'm going back to run for 2 more years at Southeastern University in Lakeland, Florida. So I'll be closer to Kat. I won't be across the country. So that'll be awesome. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Will you tell us a little bit about now that you're going kind of back into the college world? So you left, so you were running in college and then you left and you're running for club, the elite club, and now you're going back into the college world again. So can you talk a little bit about the differences between running in college and kind of that transition into an elite club? And then, we can talk about where you are going back.
Yeah, absolutely. So personally, I spent the first 3 years of college injured. I had a fracture in my talus bone twice. And so I didn't really get the opportunity to race and to train like I really wanted to until senior year. And I got a taste of that senior year. And I was like, oh my God, like this is what I loved when I was 17 years old. And I found that passion again, 100% loved it. So I wasn't ready to be done. So when I came out here, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm joining this club team. And like, I was just thrilled, like showing up and seeing like the pros show up at the same time and getting to run alongside them every once in a while and waking up and Shalane Flanagan might be there that day. Or, it was really exciting for me and getting to run on the track out at Nike, just like every day. Like I'm just so blessed to get to do that, every day with people who care about running. So I joined the team and in the beginning, I was like, okay, this is cool. This is great. But then I realized they are like so much faster than me. And so like every day I'm just trying to hang on. We had, what workout was it? We had 20 by 600s the other day. And like, I was just hanging on for dear life by the end of the workout. All that being said, I have spoken with my coach who will be coaching me at the school I'll be going to, and he's very excited because it was an extremely good base that I've built. I'm in better shape right now than I've ever been in. Just did like a tester mile the other day to see fitness and had like a 6-second PR. So definitely in the best shape I've been in. So he's really excited about that. And so am I. It's beyond the training itself, I think it gave me a sense of purpose having that community because it was something I really, really was missing for the first 2 months of living out here and not having a team anymore because I had had a team my whole life. Since I was 10 years old, I had been on a team and moving out here and not having built-in people every morning to wake up to. I was like, what do I do? And it didn't help that I moved across the country alone. So I was really just looking for community. And I found that in the group. I love every single one of them. It's cool because it's a range of people. I think I'm the youngest on the team, but the age goes up to like in the 40s. So we all run together and it feels like we're all just kids running again. It's really, really cool. And a lot of them have kids and everything, and they'll sometimes bring their kids to meets and everything. It's a really cool community.
Yeah, the track is so gorgeous. I'd love to run on that track someday.
It's beautiful. The other day I was running on it and 2 big deer just ran across. I was like, oh my God, that's so cool. And they're just hanging out in the little forest on the inside of the track.
They're like, hey, run faster.
Yeah.
It's too slow.
Pick it up.
That's really funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. You are like running the show so far.
I know. I was thinking you should ask more questions. It's not fair because I know them both so well.
Well, that's what's not fair about it. Yeah. But no, my question was for both of you. Do you guys feel like you were competitive at any point, either high school or now, competitive with each other, or just competitive were you guys like us sisters against the world type situation?
Honestly, we might have different answers to this. I don't know. Like, I've never felt that at all. Like, even when I because Sarah had her fair share of injuries and stuff too, you know, but even when I still couldn't really run post college and she was getting to crush times that, you know, run amazing time stuff, it was never oh man, yeah, it inspires me to want to do it still, but it's not at all a sister comparison thing. Cause I think a lot of sisters struggle with comparison, but I think especially being her big sister, it's I want her to succeed. I want her to do better than I ever did. You know, obviously I want to do that with her, but if I can't, I still want her to do well. And so I don't think it's ever been competitive in the sense that too, when I was entering high school in my peak era, she was still in middle school. So we were hardly even competing before I had all the injuries and stuff happen. But I don't know, Sarah, what do you feel about that?
No, yeah. There was never any sense of competition. I mean, when I was in 6th grade and you were in 8th, we were in the same races and I'd be in the mile with her and be like, okay, I'm going to keep up with her for half a mile and just try. And it never worked. But later, there is one specific memory that I'll never forget. And it was my senior year of college. I've never hated running, except for when I was young, when I first started.
Wait, I feel like we already went over this. That
I'm contradicting myself. Once I found the love for it, I'll never lose it. But there was a time when I had just lost a lot of the passion for it. And I was really sick of the college running experience and I was ready to be done. And that was the very beginning of senior year. I had just gone through the injuries and you know, I was anemic and just had all this stuff that I was just I should just quit. It would just make sense if I quit. And I remember I was at a meet and I had done the mile the mile that morning, felt no passion for it. It was just oh, this is whatever. And then took a nap and then had the 3K at the end of the day. And before the 3K, I woke up from my nap. I was I really just don't want to do this. I was just in a funk and I left and called my sister. And I'm kind of crying. I'm just emotional. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't know what to do. And she's okay, well, first of all, A, you have to finish the meet. You can't quit in the middle of a meet. And then she's B, you need to finish your season at least. And I was okay. And so she talked me out of it. And I'm in the porta potty outside of the indoor track and just crying. And I'm okay, I can do that. And so she gets off the phone with me. And I remember I said this very short prayer. I asked God that he would give me the passion for the sport that I had when I was a kid. And so after, talking with Kat and having that quick moment with God, I left the porta potty and went back inside the indoor track. Inside the track, I walked in and one of my old high school teammates was in there, someone I hadn't seen in years. I'd trained with her when I was a kid. And I was oh my gosh, you're here. And she ran for Georgia Tech. So I got to race with her in the same event. And the moment I stepped onto the track, so I was still kind of in my funk a little bit, but the moment I stepped onto the track, I have never felt that sort of peace before in my life. It was the weirdest experience. I stepped onto the track and the gun went off and I still just felt completely at peace. I didn't feel anxious at all, which I had been feeling in races. And I came around one lap of the 200 meter indoor track in South Carolina. And I heard this man's voice and he was go, Sarah. And I hadn't heard that voice in 4 years. It was the father of the girl who I had seen. And he was kind of an assistant coach to us when we were young. And I don't know if it was that or if it was talking to my sister or all of it happening at once, but all of the passion that I had had before for the sport came back. And the rest of that year, I just was on fire with passion for the sport. And I was so thankful for the moment that Kat took the time to call me, to talk with me and to say like, no, you can't quit in the middle of a meet. She could have said, oh no, like do what you need to do, look out for you. And like, but she was looking out for me in that she was saying, don't throw this away, because she knows how much it means to her and she knows how much it means to me. And she didn't want me to waste that. And that was something that will always like mean the world to me. Kat's always been that way with me with the sport.
It's funny because in that scenario, I'm not the best example because I did quit running in college, like my senior year, but I didn't want to. It was kind of like I just had to kind of thing. And so I was like, how am I going to tell her she can't quit? Like if I did, but I was like, you can't do it in the middle of the season. That was like my only like.
Well, that's why I called you. I was like, well, she quit. Maybe she'll tell me it's okay if I quit.
Like not in the middle of the
was
season.
like, no.
It was different. It was different.
But yeah.
It's really nice that you have each other.
Yes.
It's fun when we're both not injured and in shape. To be able to run together is really fun, but she's way faster than me now. So
Do you guys get to do that often?
sometimes when she comes home to visit, because my parents live like 40 minutes from us now, so she's home with them, she'll come stay with us and we go on little beach runs, but we don't go on hard runs together because she's too fast.
But when I move back down south, I'm sure we'll get to run together more and more once you're healthy and everything.
Well, and so let's talk a little bit about stuff outside of running too. Kat, you do a lot. Like I love to watch your little routine, your like healthy routines, and you're trying to, help people find health and kind of love for movement and all of that in their regular life. And so how did you come to that? How did you start doing that? And why are you, focused on that now?
Yeah, I actually started a little food Instagram in college, like freshman year at Baylor, was called like Healthy Eats. But I just like to take pictures of my food, like everyone in this generation of people this age. And so anytime I made like a yummy recipe, like I had Run Fast, Eat Slow by Shalane Flanagan and Elise, whoever the other person is who wrote it with her, and whatever. I would post those recipes all the time, and just eventually when I was like not runner girl as much anymore, and I'd done CrossFit and I studied health science, exercise science in college. So I learned a lot about like weightlifting and just different things. And so I would start to post my other type of workouts outside of running because I couldn't really run at the time. And anyway, so that just became a part of my brand, if you will. I hate to like say people are branded, but on the internet, they kind of are. And then when my husband and I, Kacy, first got married in 2020, I was working at a gym, just like front desk, nothing crazy. And I got like my personal trainer certification and was going to be a personal trainer and all this stuff. But I trained a couple people and they just wouldn't do, I'm sure PTs, y'all get this, they wouldn't do their stuff. And I was like, why are you paying me if you're not going to do it? Like, I just got so annoyed. I was like, I wouldn't care how much money I make.
Is real sometimes.
That it is so real. I mean,
yeah. I only had like 3 clients, like 3 people I was like working with. And it just got to the point where I was like, I don't like this. This is not for me. And so anyways, I just continued to like post about health stuff online. But I think more than like workouts or being a fitness girly on Instagram or whatever, I'm passionate about helping people in general, but helping especially young women, like college age girls, like learn about actual health, because it's insane to me. Like I was also a freshman RA, basically like just someone who lives in freshman dorms in college to like help the freshmen if they need stuff, like watch over them, kind of whatever. My last year at Samford, my senior year, I did that. And it was just wild to me. Like I'd go eat with people in the cafeteria, which like eat whatever you want. Like, I eat all the foods, all the things. But like if someone was saying they wanted to be healthy that day, they were going to have a salad. They would get like iceberg lettuce with like ranch and croutons, and I'm just like, that's like not the healthiest salad, like it's great. You can have that, but there's so much more to health, like people wouldn't even know what a pumpkin seed or an avocado is, just all the nutrient dense things that are out there. People just don't know about. And so anyways, I love posting about just things in general that are not always as talked about, some of the more holistic health side of things sometimes, obviously still within reason. But yeah, I love sharing things that I either learned in school or I learn now through personal experience and through books I read, because I'm always like educating myself now, even though I'm not in school. And so, yeah, I love sharing about all that stuff.
That's great. And then I saw that you did a retreat. I can't tell if it's recently or not, but I feel like it was in the last year with Be a Blessing Company. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So Be a Blessing is like my baby ministry. I don't really like post on it a lot or like, I don't know. It's not like I'm trying to grow some brand or anything from it. So I just kind of post when we do it, but we've only had it 3 years, but it's once a year, just a small intimate retreat setting for young girls, kind of like I said, that college age, 18 to 25-year-old ish age. So I never had, basically it's a retreat for girls with insecurities, body image disordered eating, shame around food or their bodies, that kind of thing. And I never had a full on eating disorder. I never had like someone tell me you have XYZ type of eating disorder in college or anything, but I did like factually struggle with a binge eating disorder in college. And I was seeing, Kate, you actually recommended this like therapist, like counselor, and she had helped me walk through some of the injuries. And she actually is the only person I ever saw for that form of disordered eating who helped talk me through some of the like psychological patterns and things. And thankfully I was able to get through it with her and not with like any clinical setting help or anything like that. But just walking through so much of the shame and just weight of just like what came with just utterly hating my body and struggling with this terrible pattern that I hated and all these things like my freshman, sophomore year of college. It gave me such a passion and a drive to just help break that off in other women. And I know I can never speak to it fully on my own. That's why I love having the retreat, because it brings girls together in community so they feel less alone in what they're going through. And then I also have a family and marriage therapist. Her name's Melissa Johnson, but she comes and speaks at the retreat. And she was in a clinical setting for anorexia. And she speaks about just the lies that our culture sells around body image and disordered eating and just diet culture in general, and how Instagram and ads and all these things that are in our face like 80 million times a day are lying to us, and how the beauty industry, honestly, the fitness and health industry is selling a broken brand of beauty because they know that the more insecure you are, the more products you'll continue to buy. And so anyways, that's a little bit, Be a Blessing is a Christian retreat, but a retreat just to help girls walk through disordered eating, body image insecurities together in a community. And also just, I kind of speak to my personal experience and some of the more emotional, spiritual side of it. And then she kind of comes in with the facts around disordered eating because, like I said, I know it never was clinically anything. So I feel like that's off limits to me to some degree. But yeah, it's a really sweet retreat. And a lot of girls like find a lot of healing from it. So it's been super cool to be able to do that.
Yeah, I love that so much. And because I think we don't talk about it enough, and for you to create some sort of space and community really where, you know, people in different maybe parts of their journey with their relationship with themselves and their bodies, and trying to kind of heal that relationship. Seeing people, I think, at different stages, when you bring, you know, a bunch of girls together like that, I think that's really, really cool. And I'm glad that you're doing that for people. That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really fun. It's obviously not fun to see some of the hard stories, and like some of the girls, like, you know, it's just like heavy. It's a hard thing, but it also makes you want to help break it off even more. But yeah.
We need a lot of that, and as many strong women as we can find doing pretty important things.
Yes.
Okay, Sarah, so you are going to school soon, and what are you going to really be studying? So kinesiology, but like, what is your goal beyond that? Do you know?
Yeah.
Because we had lots of conversations on the phone.
Yeah, it's still day by day figuring out what it is that I want to do with it. Like I said, going back to the project that I worked on in college, I'm not sure if I ever shared that with you, Kate. I may have. Yeah. I can, though. I would love for you to see it. That's still something that I'm really passionate about, and have tried to reach out to the physicist at MIT multiple times, but gonna keep trying to get in contact with her because I would love to pick her brain on where she got the technology idea and if it's really as feasible as she's made it seem. That's something that I really have like a heart for, that I really want to make come to life. But I think I really need a better understanding of what it is that I'm bringing to life. And also outside of that, I have a huge passion for helping people get through injury, both physically and psychologically. So something that I've learned about in the past year is that there's a really cool partnership between kinesiologists and psychologists, and especially when it comes to recovering from injuries. A lot of the time, and I think you guys would know about this better than I would, but a lot of the time, a person or an athlete can be recovered from an injury physically, but their nervous system won't let them feel that recovery, and they can't go into the sport or go into walk. If it's someone who fell, like a 6-year-old who fell and broke their wrist, maybe they feel like they can't use the wrist again because their nervous system is saying, protect that. Or a runner who broke their ankle, maybe they have convinced themselves, protect that, don't run on it, don't, like, their form is off, all of that. So I think that the partnership between the psychologist and the kinesiologist is really important for anyone to recover from an injury. So that's something I have a big heart for, those two areas. But yeah, still figuring out what I want to do with it.
That's okay. And there's definitely, I mean, we've all talked about it in different places and different times, but there's such a connection between the mental and the physical in terms of how we move through life, whether it be as an athlete or not. And they both interplay on one another, back and forth all the time. And so if we're not healthy from a mental emotional standpoint, then we're not going to be healthy from a physical standpoint either. So
yeah, exactly.
I'm sure you'll come across a lot of opportunities that'll help you kind of zero in. But the fact that you have the passion for it is a great start.
Yeah, I think that's what I've realized. Everyone keeps telling me, it's funny, like, because I wish I had realized it sooner. But like I said, the passion that I had I look back at any project that I really had passion for in college, and all of them were like one was based on like a CGM monitor and tracking people's like glucose. And I was just so excited to make this like advertising campaign about this CGM monitor. And I was like, why? But looking back, I realized all of the little graphic design, like package wrappers I did were all for like sports bars, like granola bars. And just like, I had such a lens that I didn't even know I had. And it was all about like the sports and wellness world. And I really want to be in that world because I come alive in that world. Whereas right now I'm working on some really, really cool like campaigns at work, but I don't have the heart for it like I need to. Working on Google for 8 months was really cool, but I did not have a heart for Google. So it's just that sort of like, okay, you got to have a passion for something to actually feel fulfilled in it. And like Kate has told me many times, you're not going to feel fulfilled in the rest of your life if what you're doing is not what you're meant to be doing, what's giving you purpose. So I realized, okay, I need to switch what I'm doing because it's messing with the other areas of my life, messing with the way that I feel about my sport, the way that I feel about my relationships. So you got to be well-rounded. That's something I'm learning this year is every area counts, every area matters.
Exactly. So I still think you should come work for Fast Bananas someday.
Okay.
I'm going to rope you both in before the end of time. I got to get a little bit of
schooling first, but
I've already decided. Somehow you're both roped in. I've already roped Kacy in, so.
You've been roping me in for like 7 years now. So.
I know. All right. So the last thing I kind of want to ask you guys is if you had advice for either a new runner or if you want maybe a high school or middle school runner, give them advice on how to kind of proceed as a runner, like stay healthy and what kind of things do you wish you knew when you first started that might help people now and in the future?
Yeah, I actually got to have a really cool conversation like last fall or the fall before with a coach who's like freshman or something, was super good. And he was like, I want to get her to Foot Locker. So he was asking me for like tips for her. And I was like, okay, I could give you tips about the race or whatever, but my number one tip for her is nutrition. Like that's kind of what I would tell to any young up and coming athlete, runner, regardless, is just how important it is to fuel yourself properly, because we grew up super healthy. Like our mom made homemade bread, like organic this, organic everything. Like we ate tons of great food and I never had an issue with food until like the injuries and stuff. But even in college, walking through the injuries, when I did deal with some of that disordered eating stuff, now like knowing what I know about nutrition, I look back and I'm like, if you had just like eaten this, that, or the other a little bit more, not saying it would have fixed it, but you didn't even eat half as much protein as you should and things like that. So really educating themselves on nutrition and health.
How about you, Sarah?
Yeah. Okay. And then for me, I'd say actually similar to what Kat said. But I have one more thing I wanted to add. I completely agree. Nutrition is like, if I could go back, I'm so thankful that the way that we were raised was all whole and good and natural food. It wasn't preserved. It was all natural, fresh foods. And that I think is really, really important. And then the other thing was sleep. I noticed in college, like obviously college, you have less, time. And then when you get into the real world, even less time. So
you have even less time.
It just goes away every year. Sleep, and not just getting not just checking off the 8 hours, but actually being intentional about sleep, which for me personally, I learned that means not having my laptop and phone with me in bed, an hour before sleep, trying to keep off blue light, maybe just reading instead. But it's really important to be getting us to sleep earlier. I think the most important hours of sleep are from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. for our bodies, because that's when our bodies do the most healing. That's a rough gauge, but it's really important to prioritize sleep. And there's so much that goes into sleeping, as far as if you have too much sugar before bed, your body is going to, instead of healing its body, it's going to be working to get rid of that sugar, to metabolize that sugar. So if you eat a bunch of food before bed, your body's not doing what it's supposed to be doing at night, which is recovering from the workout you did that morning or whatever. So that was something else that I really wish that I had understood in college, was to be more intentional with when I ate, eating enough, but making sure that it was well before I went to sleep, and then sleeping the full 8 hours, but making sure that it was early enough and not being up late. Yeah, those two things definitely most important, I think.
What I'm hearing is taking care of our bodies and taking care of the little things. It's not like you would tell them run those 400s a little bit harder, or things like that. Yeah, it's always these things that don't necessarily have to do with training. And I think that's a great message. All right. Well, I think that's a good place for us to stop. Kat and Sara, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been a really fun conversation. I know that people of all ages and abilities are going to enjoy it. So thank you, and have a good rest of your summer.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much for listening today. We are so happy that you're here. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a friend. Even better, share it on social media, because sharing is caring. And the more people we can reach, the better.
Another way you can help us out is by leaving a review on Spotify or Apple Podcast. So give us those 5 stars and tell us how awesome we are. Really, we love to hear how awesome we are. To support our work financially, you can also join our Patreon squad at patreon.com/morethanmiles. Where for a few dollars a month, you can help us keep the show going and growing.
This season is sponsored by Fast Bananas. Why buy multiple subscriptions made for everyone when you can have one specifically crafted for runners? Fast Bananas has online yoga classes, strength training programs, meditations, recipes, communities to ask questions, and so much more. Check out Fast Bananas at fastbananas.com or follow them on Instagram at fastbananasrun.
Don't forget that training is so much more than miles.